Alright, so here's your question. You're asking, use the given values to evaluate, if possible, all 6 trigonometric functions using the sine of negative x equals negative 2/3 and tangent of x is equal to negative 2 root 5 over 5. Alright, and you point out that your main concern is that there's a negative in front of the x inside of the sine. Alright, and really all this means is, if we go back to our unit circle, if we were to look at a problem that said sine of x, okay, if we had a problem that just said sine of x, that means we're looking for angles in the normal counterclockwise direction. Alright, so if it was just sine of x, we'd be looking for angles in the counterclockwise direction, in the positive direction of the unit circle. But we have a negative x, so that means we're now looking for angles in the negative or clockwise direction of the unit circle. That's the only difference, and that's really it. So we'll go ahead and use it in this problem, and you'll see what I mean. Alright, so now we have the sine of negative x is equal to, actually it's already written, the sine of negative x is equal to negative 2/3. So what that means is we're going in this opposite direction, so this way, and we're looking for some negative x angle that has the opposite negative 2 and the hypotenuse of 3. Now, because this is sine, this is the hypotenuse here, and the hypotenuse can never be a negative number, and that comes from the c squared equals a squared plus b squared. Alright, and you square both sides, so you get c equals the square root of a squared plus b squared, and the square root of a squared plus b squared can never be negative. Mostly because the a squared, even if a is negative, it's squared, so it becomes positive. B, if it's negative, it becomes positive, and a positive plus a positive stays a positive, and the square root of a positive stays a positive. So c can never be negative. Alright, so that means if you have a negative 2/3 and it's sine, the negative has to go to the numerator, the top number, which would be the opposite of the angle. Alright, so for this case, our opposite is negative 2, and our hypotenuse is 3. And that's really all that means. So now, because we have this, that also means that if we had the sine of positive x, that means our opposite would be 2, because we are now in the positive side of the unit circle. We're on the positive hemisphere of the circle, on the positive side of the y-axis. So that means the 2 is now positive as opposed to negative, and our hypotenuse stays the same. It's still a 3. So that means because of this, and because of what we're looking at in our unit circle, sine of x equals positive 2/3. And that's really what that means, is that instead of going in the normal counterclockwise direction, the negative x just means you're looking in the clockwise direction, and because we can draw this triangle here, that means we can also come to the conclusion that sine of x is equal to 2/3, and that's really all we were looking for. So now we can start using that in our tangent equation. So now tangent is equal to sine of x over cosine x. Alright, we don't know our cosine x, but we do know sine of x. And we do know that sine of x divided by cosine x is equal to negative 2 root 5 over 5. So what we can do is plug in our 2/3 for our sine of x. So that means we can say 2/3 over cosine of x is equal to negative 2 root 5 over 5. Alright, and now when you're dividing fractions here, this 2/3 times, or divided by cosine of x, we can just do some side work over here, that is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So 2/3 times, this is cosine, so that's going to be multiplying by the reciprocal. This is 1 over cosine x, which means this side over here is going to be equal to 2 over 3 cosine x, which means 2 over 3 cosine x is equal to the negative 2 root 5 over 5. That means we can divide both sides by 2, so let's go ahead and rewrite this down here. So that means we can say 2, 3 cosine x is equal to, and same thing over Actually, I'll just rewrite that. So negative 2 root 5 over 5. So now we can divide both sides by 2. So we can say 2 divided by that, and this divided by 2. Alright, so that means our 2's over here cancel out, our 2's over here cancel out, and we are left with 1 over 3 cosine x. Let's go ahead and scroll down here. That means 1 over 3 cosine x is equal to root 5 over 5. Now we're looking to solve for the cosine x. So let's go ahead and multiply 3 to both sides, and then we're going to flip everything. So what this is going to look like, we're going to multiply 3, so that's going to be 1 over cosine x, which is equal to multiplying 3, so that's going to be 3 root 5 over 5. Let's go ahead and flip everything, because the cosine is now on the bottom. So that means it's going to be cosine x is equal to 5 over 3 root 5. You can do that. Whenever you have fractions here, you have a fraction on one side, a fraction on the other, and it's just those individual fractions. It's not adding to anything else. It's just those individual fractions. You can take everything and flip it. So now we took this 5, put it on top, and the 3 root 5, put it on the bottom. So now you can just plug into your calculator. You have x is equal to the inverse cosine. Actually, that's not what they're asking for. They're asking for the 3 trigonometric functions. So we're not necessarily solving for x, but now we have cosine. So we have cosine of x is equal to 5 over 3 root 5. And the other trigonometric functions, we can do that work over here. Let's get an orange. So now we have sine of x is equal to 2/3. Cosine of x is equal to 5 over 3 root 5. And of course your teacher is going to want this without the radical on the bottom, but I'm just going to continue my work this way. And we have the tangent of x is equal to, let's go ahead and check this out, tangent of x is equal to negative 2 root 5 over 5. So right here we have negative 2 root 5 over 5. Now the other 3 values are cosecant x, which is equal to 1 over sine of x, which in this case is equal to, we're just flipping this 2/3, so that's going to be 3 over 2. Now our other value is going to be secant, which is equal to 1 over cosine x, which is again equal to just taking this and flipping it, so it's going to be 3 root 5 over 5. And our last one is cotangent, which again is just taking this number and flipping it. Let's go ahead and write the 1 over tangent. And again, we're just flipping this, so it's going to be 5 over 2 root 5. Alright, so here's all of our values. So really your goal in these type of problems is to first get the sine and cosine. If you don't have cosine, get it. If you don't have sine, get that. And that helps you just really build all of the rest of these. So that should be your first tactic in these type of problems. And you mentioned in your point of concern that you didn't like this negative sign. Really all that means is you're turning in the opposite direction, and once you've found that triangle that you're looking for in the opposite direction, you can go ahead and flip it and find your positive value, which is what we did here. Alright, so hope that helps, and good luck with your homework.